Now, I wouldn't dream of saying that people on the left aren't that bright. Of course I wouldn't. I'm going to play you two videos which I found on my Twitter feed, I suppose. Sorry, my X feed. And we'll just go through them, should we? I mean, it's been a depressing enough week. It's time for a laugh. Okay, I'm Granniopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. So this is, what's he called? James O'Brien. He is a terrible person who uses the fader as a weapon. Now, some of you who aren't in the radio business might not know what a fader was, and indeed I probably wouldn't know one if it jumped up and bit me on the nose, because my fader days were from a time when the console was like a sort of a huge printing press type of thing with levers, and the fader was a lever that went up and down. I suppose it's all buttons now and stuff like that, so I probably wouldn't know how to use a fader, but it's still called a fader, I believe. And what this guy does is he says unfair things to people, and then when they try and respond, he fades them out, or he shouts over them, or indeed, in this case, he just spews. Now, I'm sorry, some of you think I'm such a lady, I wouldn't use bad language, but, occasionally there are times when there is absolutely no other language to use. And in the case of James O'Brien, spewing a cartload of bollocks is just about the only way you can describe what he is actually saying. So let's listen to this. And I want to show you something. Hang on, I've got to get this out of the way. It's from James O'Brien's Best Bits, which means he's quite proud of what he did. Now, either he is irredeemably stupid or he is irredeemably dishonest. You'll have to tell me which one you think it might be. But let's just listen to him macerating somebody who's just come in on the phone line. Now, this person doesn't know mathematics very well. To be frank, neither do I. But the person phoning in doesn't know mathematics very well. He runs rings round him, even though I think he knows even less mathematics than the caller, which just shows you how clever some people can be in their stupidity. But so he makes this, he turns this poor caller into mush about something that isn't actually the point that the caller is trying to make, which is another thing James O'Brien does very well. All right, well, let's just listen to
fantastic country, and people have got brains in their heads and they're intelligent.
Well,
they're
not all intelligent, are they?
Well, I don't know.
Well, of course you know. 50% of the population is of below, or 49.9% of the population is of below average intelligence.
Well, that's a statistic I'd never heard of, but I'll have to take your word for it.
Well, let's just think about it, shall we? What's half of 100%?
50.
What is going to be below half of 100?
49.999.
So what percentage of the population is of below average intelligence?
Yeah, but where are you getting that statistic from?
Okay. Let's... Okay, I'm going to show you a bell curve. Now, this is the sort of bell curve that James O'Brien was probably thinking of. So there are different curves according to standard deviation or whatever. The point is, this curve, let's say this is an intelligence curve, he's thinking that the curve goes along here, and then more and more people are in this area here, and then fewer and fewer in this area here. Let's assume that's super stupid and that's super bright. And that's what James O'Brien is thinking of. So average intelligence, according to him, that doesn't apparently know the difference between mean, median and mode. This is his what's going on in his mind. So according to him, 50% of the population will be down here in the stupid area, and 50% of the population will be down here in the clever area. I assume that he thinks he's one of the people on this side of the bell curve. But that's not how population works. Let's have another look at this. So this is probably a more realistic profile. Either that's really stupid and that's really clever, or the other way round. It doesn't matter. But let's assume that this is a population, and at this end we have really stupid, and you see a lot there. And then here you have the end of the population that's very clever, which is somewhat less. Now, the mean is when you take all of them, you add up the IQs of all of them, and then you divide the IQ by the number of people in the sample. So that would be the mean, what you might call the average, and that's probably what James O'Brien, let's get a picture of him back, that's probably what he thinks when he's saying that 50% is going to be below average and 50% is going to be above average. Okay, that's the first. Then there's the median. Now the median is, let's say you had a row of pebbles, a very small one, like that big, and then a very big one like that big, and you lay them all out. The middle-sized pebble is the median, and the mode is what happens when the number that comes up most. So say you're taking a sample of intelligence quotient and more 85s turn up than anything else, that's the mode, the 85. But if you take the average intelligence, you will see there are more people here than there. And so you don't know. When you say the average intelligence is, let's say, 100, or I think in the UK it's 97 or something like that, but whatever. Let's say it's 100, it's a simpler figure. If that's the average intelligence at 100, it will mean that there are more people, whichever way round this graph is, either above or below the actual average intelligence. And either he knows that and he's deliberately, lying in order to make a fool of the person who has phoned in and doesn't really know about bell curves maybe, but that doesn't mean he's not intelligent. It just means that bell curves isn't the thing he's learned most of, especially if he's gone to a British school. He'd have probably learnt a lot more about white privilege than bell curves. So that's James O'Brien, and a shining example of either dishonesty or the sort of stupidity that I actually find that incomprehensible. I really do find it very difficult to come to terms with that if it really is something he doesn't understand. And if he does understand it, then I have trouble coming to terms with the dishonesty. And then the next one. So this is one for you Americans. I'm sure you'll find this very amusing. Here is a man. I don't know who he is. But he's certainly got nice hair, hasn't he? He also has what looks like some sort of a Jackson Pollock painting there in the background, or an homage to Jackson Pollock or whatever. But that probably is there to show how intelligent he is and how how much he's in the modern swim. Well, Jackson Pollock isn't that modern, is he? But, well, you know what I mean. Ordinary people, you know, the average guy who goes to eat in McDonald's or whatever, drives a truck with a flag on the back or whatever. He wouldn't understand a Jackson Pollock, would he? So, of course, not as intelligent as this fellow with the nice hair. And, let's listen to what he says. This, of course, must have been released about the time that, after the fracas between Vance and Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky. Okay, let's hear what he has to say.
I will never, ever, ever forgive the people in the United States who voted for Donald Trump in the 2024 election. You are the most profoundly dumb, gullible, selfish, racist, misogynistic population segment that this country has ever been saddled with.
It's a bit difficult to say. First of all, let's start with the misogynistic. I don't know where the misogynistic came from. He was talking about the way Trump acts. Trump doesn't act misogynistic. He had to throw it in there because it's one of the things on the tick box list of things that he doesn't, that's supposed to be not nice about Donald Trump. Let's just go back on that.
You are the most profoundly dumb, gullible, selfish.
Right, dumb, I suppose he means stupid, rather than unable to speak. Gullible, I'll get to that in a minute. Racist, you know, that really is ridiculous when you consider the people who were standing for Trump. They weren't racists, and Trump certainly has a wide base. All those states that voted for him, the popular vote, that was people who weren't of his particular epidermal hue, were they? Not all of them. That wouldn't have been possible. Right, I shall continue.
Racist, misogynistic.
Misogynistic, well, I've dealt with that.
Population segment that this country has ever been saddled with.
Population segment. I think he thought that was an intellectual word.
And I will treat every single one of you as such.
Yeah, that's a sort of semi-legal word as well. He really has a good... he really thinks that he's brighter than almost everybody else, doesn't he?
Every single day for the rest of my life.
Yeah, you go on like that with your Pollock in the background. Now, Trump is, in my opinion, I'm not an American voter, but I can give you my opinion from a distance. Oh, what was that? From a distance. Never mind. Nancy thingy. Hang on, just a minute. Nancy Griffith, that's right. Okay, now, when you see things from a distance, sometimes you can see a shape that the people who are closer can't see. Now, I always knew that Trump would be, I've said it in several videos, I wouldn't want him as a neighbour. But as a president, I think he'd probably be better than Joe Biden. I've said that in videos. What sort of choice did the American people have? They had a man with dementia, followed by a cackling idiot. And what was her, the strapline for her election campaign? Joy. Joy. What sort of a thing is that for an election campaign? There's absolutely no policy or information of any sort. Joy. Nonsense. There wasn't anyone else to vote for. Now, why is the question? And the answer is, it's the Democrats, just like I believe that the reason we're in the fix we are here in the United Kingdom is because of the Conservatives. They were so bloody inept. There wasn't anyone to vote for. So a lot of people didn't vote. That's how this dreadful communist dictatorship got its teeth into the national bottom. There wasn't anyone else to vote for in America either. So what you've got with Trump, you may not like Trump, but you put him there, Mr. Intellectual. Let's just finish what he said. And he'll never forgive. He'll never forgive the people who voted for him. He should be. That's instead of him saying he'll never forgive himself, because I assume he was a Democrat. I assume he still is. And because of his passivity in the face of the whole Democrat machine, his agreement, his lack of shouting years ago about the incompetence of Biden, the obvious incompetence. It's people like him that put Trump into place. So why don't you think about not forgiving yourself? Hard man. That's what he calls himself.
You are disgusting people for what?
Yeah, you are disgusting. You are disgusting. It's just the lack of self-awareness is just off the scale.
You did to this country.
Yeah, what you did to this country, you and the Democratic Party, because there wasn't anybody left to vote for by the time you and your political compadres had finished with the political process before the 2024 election. That's the problem. Now, if you want to look for somebody to blame, just look in the mirror, mate. Okay, well, yeah. Stupidity cubed, both him and him. And this is the left for you. They're both left, obviously. And they are completely unself-aware, both of them. Is that a characteristic of the left? I don't know. Any psychologists out there, yeah, psychiatrists, whatever, you let me know. And I'll give you time to cogitate upon that. Till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.